Hey folks, leave some love and let's jump in. Yui calmed herself down, knowing it was a difficult situation but believing she could handle it. She took out her shield. The monsters attacked Gibong, but he defeated them easily, though he thought they smelled horrible. He was concerned about Yui and Yuben, realizing the monsters were tough to deal with. He asked the system to find their location. The system searched the entire area and showed him a map with their location. Yuben had already started fighting but struggled in the dark. After some time, as an experienced player with 10 years of monster combat, he managed to defeat them all. He worried about Yui, knowing she used a lot of mana and could be an easy target due to her low mana. Yuben immediately moved forward to find her. Yui raised her shield to defend against the monster's attacks due to her limited mana. She couldn't use offensive magic and relied solely on defense. If she had more mana, she could have used both offense and defense together. Yui considered whether to risk using attack magic, hoping Gibong or Yuben would come to her rescue. But if her mana ran out before they arrived, she feared she'd be killed instantly with no chance to defend herself. Despite this, she decided to take the risk, determined to show her true power to her subscribers. She finally decided to fight the monsters. Victory was never guaranteed when humans fought monsters, but she was one of the brave combatants who faced the risk of losing her life. Yui put away her shield, and the monsters immediately attacked. She managed to take down several of them with her attack magic, but her mana was completely depleted. Feeling exhausted, she realized she should have avoided the wolf's attack. Nevertheless, she continued forward, hoping Gibong and Yuben were safe. A monster suddenly attacked her from behind, but Yuben arrived just in time to save her. He then gave her a mana potion, which made Yui feel a bit better. Yui told him how strange the cave was, noting that the mutated wolves attacking them showed symptoms of being infected by the moth. It was abnormal since wolves don't typically appear in moth chambers, and such caves don't exist in those chambers. Yuben and Yui heard something and quickly moved forward. Yuben mentioned that, like other dungeons, they would also have to defeat the boss monster to return. Yui agreed and spotted a light in the distance. Upon seeing the light, she began to run towards it, but Yuben stopped her with a signal to be silent. They both cautiously peeked around the corner and were shocked to see human-like monsters. Yui and Yuben were encountering this type of monster for the first time, as they resembled humans but were actually half human and half monster. One of the monsters sensed their presence, and they were surprised to hear it speak. Yuben thought to himself that the language didn't sound like Korean, but he had heard it before. After one of the monsters searched the area and found nothing, another monster found them and attacked Yui and Yuben. They dodged the attack and prepared to fight. Yuben realized that it was fast and noticed the stitches and surgical markings on the monster, realizing it was an artificial creation. He asked Yui how much mana she had left. She replied that she had enough for about 4 or 5 spells and said that it was enough. Yuben charged forward to attack, but was shocked to see that he could not cut through the monster's skin. The monster attacked him, but Yui's spell stopped it. Yuben thanked her and expressed concern about the other 2 monsters nearby who were engaged in conversation. He thought that if they joined the battle, things would get complicated, and they had to end it before that for an efficient victory. Yuben asked Yui to buff him with her remaining mana, and she obliged by using 3 buffs, haste, fire sword, and strength on him. With the buffs, Yuben felt energetic and was able to land multiple attacks on the monster, which made Yui excited. Yuben thought that he was able to cut through the monster's skin because of the buffs. However, he was surprised to see that the monster bled red blood, unlike any other monster he had encountered so far. This made him question if he was really fighting a monster. After defeating the first monster, the other 2 monsters joined the fight and attacked, but Yuben managed to dodge their attacks. The monsters said to him that he was good at running. Yuben asked Yui about her remaining mana, but she had used it all for the buffs and could only use 1 or 2 spells. Yuben knew that he had to defeat the 2 monsters quickly before the buffs wore off, so he charged forward to attack. Meanwhile, Gibong was informed by the system that a battle was occurring and estimated that he would reach them in 30 minutes if he took the shortest route through the cave dungeon on foot. However, Gibong thought that it was too long and decided to smash through the walls to reach them faster. Yuben and Yui were struggling against the two monsters, with Yui providing support with her spells. The system then informed Gibong that he would arrive at their location in just 1 minute. Yuben injured one of the monsters, and Yui stopped the other one from attacking him. Behind the monsters they spoke and acknowledged that they were stronger than the humans they had faced before. However, they revealed they were immortal beings called Nu Humhim after something was transplanted into them. They claimed that no human had ever survived after fighting them. The two monsters merged together and absorbed the dead monster, leaving Yuben and Yui in a difficult situation. Yuben asked Yui to use her remaining mana to buff him one more time, knowing they could not fight the merged monster in their current state. Yui agreed but could only divide the remaining mana into 3 buffs, each only a third as effective as normal. After Yuben received buffs from Yui, he charged forward to fight the monsters. The walls suddenly exploded, and Gibong appeared and immediately destroyed the monsters. He was relieved to see Yui and Yuben were safe. They inspected the corpse, and the system found that the Daystone's energy was within the monster's body. However, the scan was unsuccessful because an unknown entity was holding the energy. Yuben tried to finish off the monster, but Gibong stopped him and asked the system to absorb the energy. After absorbing the energy, the monster disintegrated, but it was not enough to unlock a new feature for the system. The system then asked for the Daystone Gibong was holding. Gibong thought that it was getting better at expressing itself. The system informed them that it sensed a dungeon boss and a fragment of filthy energy behind a wall. Yui wondered about the boss, while Gibong smashed the walls and advanced forward. The two followed him inside and found the boss monster. They were shocked to see that the boss monster was already on the verge of death. The system then told Gibong that the boss was asking them to kill it. Gibong asked the system if it could sense the boss's emotions and was shocked to learn that it could feel its rage, sorrow, fear, and resignation. He found it strange that the monster would ask for its own death, while Yui and Yuben were also shocked. They found the Moth Queen, who was supposed to be in the Moth Chamber, injured and chained down by a magic circle. This confirmed their suspicions that they were in an artificial dungeon created by someone. Yui discovered that a magic circle of restraint was used to hold the monster, which could only be activated by an S+ rank hunter. Yuben expressed his shock at the possibility of someone conducting experiments on monsters because the cuts were not irregular like the ones in battle, but were precise. Meanwhile, Yuben realized that the monster was cut open and its organs were removed, indicating that it had been used for its useful parts before being left to die. Yui agreed and concluded that they were in an artificial dungeon created by someone, which shocked them. Gibong thought that such a situation was entirely expected as they were also conducting experiments on the remains of a fire dragon in South Korea. He realized that they needed to leave the dungeon as soon as possible to avoid any other danger. Gibong instructed the system to absorb the energy from the boss monster, and a light shone from it, shocking Yui and Yuben, causing it to disintegrate and revealing the exit. As they left, Gibong promised them to explain everything, but they needed to get out of the dungeon first, and they agreed. Outside, they saw many soldiers, which confused them, and were met by Jiun, who informed them that they were inside the dungeon for 2 months, which shocked them. Gibong asked the system to confirm, and it verified that it was true. In the dungeon, only 71 hours had passed, while in the outside world, 1441 hours had passed. Gibong thought that this time difference was the same as the one when he was stuck in the tutorial. Jiun told them that she had informed the Prime Minister, so they headed to the lab. Upon their arrival, the Prime Minister was relieved to see them safe and watched the recording of what happened inside the dungeon with Jiun. She then told Yui and Yuben to rest and that the recording would remain classified. She took Yui's camera to copy the content and delete the original file. After the two left, Gibong showed the Daystone to the Prime Minister, who praised him for his work and wondered about the limit of his strength. Gibong humbly replied, and she expressed her belief that possessing the Daystone would help humanity get closer to the end of the monster phenomenon. When he was leaving, Seongrong told him that some people were waiting for him. He wondered who they were. When he went outside, he saw Kang and his team waiting in a ragged state, which shocked him. The system informed Gibong that his team had all been awakened as players and detected an unknown power that belonged to players, similar to Kang. Gibong was surprised, and the team saluted him. Gibong praised them for their hard work while he was away. Kang was excited to be praised by Gibong. Then Gibong asked Han about what happened when he was not there. The vice captain told him that many things happened when he was away on the day after he entered the dungeon. Kang was killing the monsters from the dungeon break while the army watched in awe. Han was surprised by his strength and remembered the punch Kang threw at him, realizing that he could have become like the monsters if the captain hadn't stopped him. Han felt devastated by his own powerlessness and wished to become stronger. He watched Kang destroy monsters from the dungeon break, which shocked the lieutenant and felt envious of his strength. Han expressed his desire to become like him and not stand on the sidelines following Kang's victory over the monsters. Han shared his intention with the team to seek Kang's advice on how to enhance his strength. Although some team members had reservations about the idea, Han remained resolute in his idea to take action and not solely rely on the captain and Kang in the future. He believed that there was nothing to lose in seeking Kang's guidance. A team member told him that he doubts that Kang has some grudge against him, but Han approached him and expressed his desire to become stronger like him and asked him if it was possible for ordinary human beings to gain his power. Kang smiled and assured him that it was indeed possible to become stronger. He took Han and the team to the mountains and led them to the same place where he trained, and Han asked him if Kang trained by meditating under the waterfall or eating strange herbs and plants, to which he replied yes. Han was surprised that his guess was correct, and he prepared himself for the training. The team started by standing under the waterfall, drawing punches, and hanging by the tree trunks, climbing mountains, and catching their food. They trained every day, and each member showed progress after hearing the intense training Jang put the team through for 2 months. Gibong was impressed. Han asked Gibong to rely on them from now on, to which Gibong answered that he has always relied on them. Hearing this, the team became emotional while Kang observed. He felt content with the progress of the team. Throughout the 2 months when Gibong was inside the Moth Dungeon, the team took advantage of the time to enhance their combat abilities and strengthen their bond as a team. In one place, a man was checking the records of various players, including Yui. 3 people entered the room, and the man expressed his regret to them. The man, "They better do." The woman said she would immediately go to South Korea. Seong-ryong was attending an event when her subordinate updated her schedule. She noticed that the people around her were under a charm spell, realizing it was the work of a highly skilled magician. She then saw someone she recognized, the Shield Guild's guild master, Park Urim, appeared in front of her. Urim asked her why she wanted to get rid of their guild, and she responded that the guild had committed crimes and needed to be punished. Urim then asked her if she would incriminate her as well, and she released her power. Seongrong replied that if someone commits a crime, they would be arrested and punished regardless of who they were. Urim then replied that she was still as stuck up as ever and walked away, saying she could not wait and had always wanted to fight her. Seongrong turned around and shouted her name, only to find that Urim was already gone, and the people under the spell were released. She immediately ordered her subordinate to cancel all her plans and summon the security division. Meanwhile, Gibong's team had successfully defeated the monsters, impressing Gibong himself. He guessed that they could stop lower-ranked dungeon breaks without him. However, one of his subordinates informed him that they had orders to gather at headquarters. Gibong asked the reason. The man replied it was because the remains of the fire dragon had been stolen. in an unnamed building on the outskirts of Seoul. In the basement of the place, Seongryong was present with generals of the Republic of Korea's Third Army and government officials responsible for national defense and security, along with Captain Kim Kibong of the Special Dungeon Management Team. They had gathered at the National Security Conference, focused on the case of the stolen fire dragon remains by an unknown group and the unauthorized entry of the Shield Guild's master, who was staying abroad. The group was shown pictures of the unknown group who stole the corpse, arriving in the country and disabling the cameras. They were also informed that the guild master's deception magic was so strong that they only realized she had entered the country after checking the CCTV footage. The Prime Minister expressed her dissatisfaction that there was a gap in Korea's national security and how the people would trust them. The director of the intelligence service apologized, knowing that Yurim's skills had improved and her deception magic was strong enough to control an entire airport. She then asked about the current location of the fire dragon corpse and was informed that they were still analyzing the CCTV footage of the roads. However, the thieves seemed to know the locations of the cameras and were able to break them, making it difficult to track them down. She became angry and suggested using black boxes in cars along the streets and even people's phones that have cameras. They apologized. One of the men suggested prioritizing the search for the fire dragon's corpse, concerned that it might be taken abroad and result in backlash that they would receive. The value of the fire dragon corpse was considered to be astronomical, and it was impossible to put a monetary value on it because no country or organization had officially cleared an 8-star dungeon before. Seongryong recognized the concern about the fire dragon corpse and ordered Kibong to pursue the Shield Guild's master. The army officials protested about who would handle the fire dragon's case, but Seongryong said that they had no option. Kibong is one individual, and they had to handle 2 incidents. When asked about the dragon's corpse case, she replied that she had decided to assign Kibong to work with the National Intelligence Agency to pursue the guild master, while Kang Hwi and the rest of the team would work with the military to find the stolen fire dragon corpse. She then emphasized the importance of the 2 incidents and solving them without the help of others. One person expressed concern about the 2 national-level incidents and that they had to solve them. The director asked whether Kibong would be facing the Shield Master alone since she's a strong enemy, to which Seongryong replied that that's why she had called someone beforehand, which induced curiosity among meeting members. She then called an agent named Gu Jui inside, which sparked confusion among meeting officials. Gu Jui approached them. Kang started to behave differently in front of her. However, Kang Hwi quickly noticed something about her and stood behind Kibong. She smiled and made a comment about the captain hanging around an insolent child, but corrected herself, saying that calling him a child was not accurate. Kang Hwi was surprised that she knew about him, while Kibong was confused about their conversation. The island of the Heavenly Evil is a notorious prison from which no one has ever escaped alive. Prisoner No. 4882. Food was brought, and a soldier thought that he sure eats a lot. It was Park Taram. A group arrived at the entrance, and the guards stopped them, asking for their ranks and names, or otherwise they would open fire. Taram slept after eating. Park Urim declared that they were from the Shield Guild and stated that she was searching for her little brother. It shocked the soldiers, and they opened fire at them and shouted to block them, but it was useless. The soldiers at the island of Heavenly Evil were unable to stop the Shield Guild's progress due to Urim's magical abilities. The soldiers were confused about how the group managed to reach the island as they needed to pass through multiple checkpoints. She killed the soldiers with her magic spell who blocked their path. As they moved further, players and soldiers blocked Urim's group, but she said to them that if they wanted to live, then step aside. However, a player stated that they were expecting her, increased their defense, and activated a spell that nullified her deception magic. They also prepared the new Jai 389 model battle drone and claimed that she couldn't deceive a machine. But Urim was calm and laughed. They launched the battle drones. Meanwhile, Taram was sleeping in the cell and was awakened by the screams from outside his room. A player crashed through the door, and the group greeted him as they entered the room. After a while, in a helicopter, Gibong and Jui arrived at the prison, which was totally destroyed. Jui ordered to look for survivors, but the system informed Gibong that there were no survivors inside. He told Jui, and when she asked him how he knew, Gibong insisted on going inside first. As they headed inside, they saw the bodies of the soldiers and players. Jui regretted that they were late. She then used her magic to summon the rats in the area, which surprised Gibong. However, she assured him that they were friends. She was a tamer, a person with the ability to communicate with animals or plants as if they were friends. This was an incredibly rare ability even among players. Gibong asked the system what she was doing, and it replied that she was communicating with the animals. She then informed him that according to the rats, after killing everyone, the Shield Guild escaped the prison and headed west. She decided to search in the west, confident that even though Urim was skilled in deception, it would be impossible to trick everyone. Taram was curious about how Urim had entered the country and was worried that Seongrong would not stay still and come after them. Urim warned him not to refer to Seongrong as a sister and called her ungrateful and accused her of stabbing them in the back. He replied that he understood and thought that she had always hated Seongrong. Urim was now calm again. When Taram asked about their next move and whether they were going abroad or building the Shield Guild again, Urim just laughed and said he would find out soon enough. She said that they had to finish something here first and expressed her anger towards Korea for betraying them and promised to punish everyone involved, especially Seongrong and her followers. Taram was shocked and expressed his doubt about being able to defeat Kim Gibong if he fought him again. Urim said to him that he had become a coward while she was away, but he insisted that they should go abroad. He also doubted that if they ended up confronting that monster, Gibong, even she couldn't defeat. However, he was surprised by Urim's strength when she grabbed him and wondered if she had always been that strong. Urim then revealed that she was not the same as before and was confident that no one could stop her, not even Seongrong or Gibong, which shocked everyone around her. Near the seashore, Jui used birds to locate the Shield Guild's position and informed Gibong they weren't far, thanking the birds. Curious, Gibong asked about the guild's master. Jui described her as fearsome, the first awakened and stronger than anyone, willing to sacrifice civilians to gain strength. She explained it was the norm in the past. She pointed west to a warehouse, suggesting they go there. Arriving at the estimated location, Gibong used the system to detect 10 people inside. He proposed a plan to minimize casualties, suggesting an attack from the right where guards were fewer. Inside, they were immediately confronted by 2 guards, who demanded they leave. Jui intervened, commanding a cat to stop them, surprising Gibong with her abilities as a tamer. Meanwhile, Kang Hy's team searched for the fire dragon's corpse, with the vice captain skeptical of Kang Hy's method of sniffing the ground. Kang Hwi explained the distinct smell of a fire dragon and confidently pointed in a direction, gaining the team's trust. Back at the warehouse, Jui's cat easily defeated the guards, revealing Urim and Taram inside, surprised to see Jui alive after 10 years. Urim was angered when Jui referred to her as sister, a term she had forbidden. She threatened them with a return stone, prompting Jui to command her cat to attack. However, 2 of Urim's associates transformed into monsters, defeating the cat easily. Gibong recognized these monsters were similar to the ones in the moth chamber. Urim then taunted them to stop her if they could, and the 2 monsters attacked Jui, but Gibong quickly destroyed them. He rushed towards Urim, who was activating the return stone. Gibong attacked and was able to break Urim's barrier, shocking her. However, both Taram and Urim were able to escape using a return stone. Gibong felt strange since he felt his fist hit something. Upon seeing the return stone, Jui suspected they were plotting something. But Gibong believed they couldn't have gone too far and decided to pursue them. Urim and Taram arrived in Shihyung, Gyeonggi-do, where Urim was shocked by Gibong's strength since he had breached her defenses. causing her to vomit blood. Taram asked if she was okay, but despite her condition, she assured him she was fine and dismissed it as nothing compared to his pain. He urged her to get treated, but Urim insisted he leave and rest. As he departed, James Lee, the director of the Shield Guild, arrived and greeted Urim. She asked him why he was so late, to which he replied that he was preparing for her to move around comfortably. He informed her that the mercenaries who stole the fire dragon's body were already gathering in the city and praised himself. James noticed Urim had become stronger and remarked that she would do anything to become even stronger. Urim then asked James about Gibong, and he revealed that Gibong had appeared suddenly one day. The Shield Guild had tried to recruit him but failed, considering him a threat. They attempted to eliminate him, but were unsuccessful. James also mentioned that the only information they had about Gibong was that he had been missing for 10 years, and his younger sibling and father had died in a dungeon break. His mother was in a coma. Urim asked about Gibong's relationship with Seongryong, to which he replied that there was nothing between them. She expressed doubts about James' statement that there was nothing between Gibong and Seongryong, saying, "Who in the world hates money and power?" She believed Gibong must have been given something by her. She then used her spells to affect the people in the area and declared that it was time to show them what would happen when the country she had protected abandoned her. She stated, "This is just the beginning." Kang Hwi followed the smell, but the team was confused as to why the thieves would have gone to the city. However, he insisted that his nose never fails him. The army following them also expressed doubts, but the vice captain apologized and asked them to trust him. Suddenly, Kang Hwi asked them to stop. The leader ordered the military to follow the special engine management team. After they got off from their vehicles, they were still doubtful about who would hide the dragon's body in the area with so many people. But they were suddenly attacked by masked men. The vice captain interfered and stopped them. Now convinced they were in the right place, he was satisfied. Kang Hwi boasted about his nose, and now that he was correct, he prepared to attack them. In the battle, the Kang Hwi team held the advantage as they efficiently handled the snipers. The army leader was initially doubtful of their abilities without Gibong present, but became impressed by their skills. The attackers, recognized by their tattoos, were members of the Shield Guild. One of them taunted the team, prompting the vice captain to punch him, expressing embarrassment over their dishonorable acts against Korean citizens. The enemies then injected themselves, enhancing their strength, shocking everyone. Despite this, Kang Hwi intervened and swiftly defeated them. Feeling concerned about interfering unnecessarily, Kang Hwi asked if his help was needed, but the vice captain assured him their enemies were like sandbags compared to dungeon monsters. They were ready to proceed, eager to capture the thieves. Meanwhile, Yui announced a collaboration with YouTuber Jinda during her live stream, but grew concerned when he didn't answer her calls for a day, prompting her to visit him. The Shield members captured by Team Woodwork were handed over to the military, who thanked the team for their efforts. The handcuffs used were made of a metal alloy to prevent escape. The vice captain inspected the drugs used by the attackers and discovered a truck, which, upon inspection, was found empty. Disappointed, the military leader suggested extracting information from the terrorists, but the vice captain advised transferring them to headquarters and continuing the search using Kang Hwi's method. In a 5-star dungeon, Yubin trained in Killa's swamp but remained unsatisfied after witnessing Gibong's power. He killed the boss monster, but his subordinates interrupted him, expressing their inability to contact their members in Shihyung. This worried Yubin, who instructed them to accompany him to investigate. In the warehouse, the lab workers were checking monster corpses, while Gibong said that those who stole the corpses are also part of the Shield. Jui agreed, stating they used guns to hide being players, but she was sure it was Urim's. Gibong questioned why Urim hadn't taken the corpses abroad yet. Jui explained teleporting between countries must be impossible. That's why Urim entered the country through the airport even though she can teleport. Intelligence services believe teleporting the fire dragon corpse is impossible due to its magical properties. Gibong thought about the purpose of the stolen fire dragon corpse and remembered the human-like monsters they saw. He concluded there wasn't enough space or time to do anything with it in Korea, meaning they didn't steal it simply because it's valuable, but they have plans for it. Jui told him about the call from the National Intelligence Service, but he was in deep thought considering the resemblance between the monsters. He remembered the monsters in the Arabian show had more human-like appearances, while the ones in the dungeon were more monstrous. King Hwi called and informed him they found the thieves. Gibong asked him to speak clearly, but King Hwi was too excited. So, Gibong asked to speak with a vice captain and asked about the location. The vice captain told him they weren't sure, but they were heading to Gyeonggi-do Shihyung. He said he would head there too. Jui asked if Kang was the one who called. When Gibong asked her about him, she warned him not to trust Kang Hwi too much. He suggested they search for traces of Park Urim at the location for now. However, they were interrupted by a monster corpse that tried to attack them. Gibong quickly destroyed it and realized he must have missed this one. He decided to move forward. The magical spell of Urim covered the whole city while Urim watched the machine beside her. The 4 former officials of the Shield Guild, Kim Taeryuk, Kang Minseok, Shinmi, and Park Hoodyeok, appeared and greeted her, stating that they had carried out her orders and were waiting for her next order. She praised them, acknowledging that their success was due to their hard work, but then reminded them that she knew they had not left her brother behind and fled, to which they replied that they didn't do this and always believed her. She threw an item to the previous Shield officials and ordered them to inject it, promising that it would take them to a whole new world. Despite their initial hesitation, they injected the items and screamed, while Urim said to them that they are not weak trash anymore and that they will be reborn and become strong ex-humans. She announced, "Rejoice and revere under the blessing of Hype." She informed me that her plan is to use the fire dragon body to make an army, destroy the country that treated them with hate, and purify Korea to become the world of Hype. Taram wondered what was meant by Hype. In the car, Yui was still wondering why Jinda was not picking up his phone while the driver seemed to recognize her. But when she told him that she was a YouTuber, the driver explained that he must have mistaken her for someone else. He then told her that 6 years ago, someone saved his son, and she had a resemblance to that person. Yui showed her cat to him, and the man understood that she was the same person. Upon their arrival, when Yui wanted to give the fare, he refused, saying that she had done so much for him and he couldn't take the money. After a while, Yui finally accepted his kind offer. Yui felt happy and proud, but was shocked to see that the area was completely empty and found it strange. Then she saw something like snow and noticed that the people were turning into monsters. In the headquarters, the man informed me that on the radar he could see an unidentified object flying towards the city. The leader ordered to find out what it was, but that object disappeared suddenly. It reappeared again. The man said that he would start to locate its whereabouts, but the object disappeared again, which shocked everyone. The leaders scolded him. He apologized and then said that the unidentified thing did not appear again on the radar. It was actually Kim Gibong flying in the air carrying Jui. Yui wondered about the infected people in front of her, and the tiny particles triggered Yui's automatic shield, which is a defensive magic-activated response to sudden attacks that increases the survival rate of magicians and is a necessary skill for high-ranking magicians. Yui was now sure that the shiny dust was responsible for the transformation of people into monsters. She thought that it could not be a dungeon break, as the government would have known about it. Yui resolved to find the root cause of the situation. While Yui was running, she saw a child and followed him. The system told Gibong that the arrival at the destination would be in 1 minute. Upon reaching, Gibong asked Jui if she was fine. She said she was fine, but it was her first experience traveling like this. She was relieved that they arrived quickly and showed interest in how Gibong's hair color changes when he activates his skill, but he didn't say anything. The system informed Gibong about a magical abnormality and that there is plenty of magical power throughout the city. It also informed him that there is recognition inhibition magic and deception magic spread throughout the city. Gibong guessed it was Park Urim's doing and ordered to move quickly. The system also informed Gibong that he had become immune to status conditions. Jui noticed small particles and drank an immunity potion to resist enemy magic attacks. They saw people in the city turning into human monsters, and Gibong asked the system to analyze them. The system replied that they were humans infected with unidentified magic. They were being transformed into human monsters. It also informed him that destroying the source of magic could stop the process of transformation. Jui asked if they should deal with the infected people, but Gibong said no, as they were still humans and they needed to enter the city quickly and avoid battles. While they proceeded forward, Gibong instructed the system to locate the source of the magic. The system advised Gibong to reach higher ground, as the inhibition magic was too strong. Gibong left Jui behind and quickly ascended a tall building where he was attacked by a monster. However, he effortlessly defeated them. Once on top, he requested the system to search for the origin of the magic and the location of Park Urim. Meanwhile, Urim sensed that Gibong was already in the area. The system was still searching for the source, annoying Gibong. The system told him that the magic was so strong that it was taking time to locate, and if they left it like this, not even the police or the army would come. After a while, the system located the mana source with 1 main and 4 auxiliary supply units. He wanted to break it immediately, but the system informed him that the main device could only be destroyed if all 4 auxiliary supplies were broken simultaneously. Otherwise, they would be restored automatically. Gibong was frustrated upon hearing this. The system informed Gibong that there were people unaffected by the magic, including Jui Kang's team, Yui, and Yubin's group. On returning to Jui and telling her he found a solution, Yui followed a child into a building and met other survivors who were initially cautious of her. But one of the people recognized her, and Yui was relieved. She asked the people what happened, and the mother of the child explained that the transformation happened suddenly a few days ago. The survivors told Yui they felt strange upon touching the red powder, confirming her suspicion that it causes infection. She noticed that wearing masks helped the survivors stay safe. They asked if rescue was coming, and she assured them, but she knew that the cognitive impairment magic would make it difficult. Suddenly, infected people arrived, and Yui used magic to incapacitate them without causing serious harm. She directed the survivors to run to another building, but a huge humanoid monster appeared and warned her not to interfere with their master's plan. Upon seeing that the monster was not human, she thought that she could kill it. The monster launched an attack, but Yui fought back with her magic and wounded it. The monster threw a car, but she evaded it and caused an explosion with another spell, eventually defeating it. Yui sensed people approaching from behind, who turned out to be Yubin and his group. He asked her what she was doing there while Yui wondered whether she was under a hallucination spell. But after being sure that he was there in reality, she briefed him on how the red powder was turning people into monsters. Yubin found it strange and ordered his subordinate to contact the outside world. Suddenly, Yubin sensed another presence and prepared to fight, but it was Kang Hy's group. While Kang Hwi was inspecting the dragon's body part, saying it felt good, the soldiers pointed their guns towards them. However, Kang Hwi recognized Yui, so the vice captain ordered them to lower their guns. Yubin questioned why they were there. The vice captain replied that the Shield Guild master, Park Urim, was responsible for the city's current state. Upon learning this, both Yui and Yubin were worried, knowing they might not be capable of handling Urim alone. Yubin learned that Gibong was also in the area from the vice captain, and Gibong soon arrived with Jui. Yui was surprised and glad to see her and greeted her, while Yubin was shy. Kang Hwi asked Gibong what he planned to do. He replied that his plan was to crush the enemies and save the citizens. Kang Hwi asked how he would do that. Gibong replied by simultaneously destroying the main mana supply and 4 auxiliary supplies, dividing them into 4 sectors. King Hwi and the vice captain were assigned to Sector 1 of the main mana supply, Agent Gu Jui to Sector 2, Chin Yubin to Sector 3, and Yui to Sector 4. The system warned Gibong that they needed to destroy the mana supply within a 30-second error range or it would regenerate. Gibong set a strict deadline for the group to destroy the magic source exactly at 14:30, wishing them good luck as they split up to their designated locations. Jui called out to Yubin, telling him to take care, but he did not respond and continued walking. As the operation began, Kang's team advanced. The vice captain ordered the team to reach the sector quickly. Kang saw the device on top of a building and decided to head there first, but was intercepted by a Shield Guild official who attacked, causing him to crash to the ground. The official warned them that they would not be able to get through to him, and the vice captain recognized him as a member of the Shield Guild, Kim Taryuk. King Hwi insulted him by calling him Muscle Pig, which angered him and led him to demonstrate his loyalty to their leader by attempting to eliminate them. King Hwi further provoked him by mocking his bad breath, enraging him, and provoking him. King Hwi charged towards him, saying he couldn't forgive him for being dirty. Meanwhile, Yubin's group also encountered another Shield Guild official, Kang Minseok, who wanted to test Yubin's speed. He appeared behind Yubin and did the same, moving in flashes multiple times. Yubin wondered if Minseok was always that fast, while Minseok acknowledged his speed improvement, stating Yubin was faster than before. Yubin replied that there was a mountain he wanted to surpass, thinking about Gibong. However, Minseok assured him that he couldn't, as he would be dying today, and both launched attacks on each other. In a different place, Gibong encountered monsters blocking his way and started to destroy them. Suddenly, he ran into Park Taram and asked him if he intended to block him without the white dragon fang. Taram admitted that he had no chance of winning and pulled out a drug. However, he changed his mind and destroyed it. Taram explained that his sister was there, and he couldn't just let him go despite the situation. In another area, Yui arrived near the device and dodged a magic attack. Then, someone from the Shield Guild appeared and expressed her long-time wish to tear her apart. In response, Yui insulted her by calling her an old lady, which angered her and caused her to attack. However, she was able to block the attack with her shield and was praised by the members. At the same time, Yui was confronting a Shield Guild member, Park Hyudeok, who was happy to fight a tamer and had transformed into a monster. Yui said to him that he had given up on being human, to which he replied that he had always wanted to be a monster. Yui summoned all the nearby animals, including birds, rats, spiders, dogs, and cats, and prepared for the fight. Taram initiated the attack on Gibong, but his moves were easily dodged and blocked by Gibong, who sent him flying with a kick. This continued several times, and Taram found it difficult to stand, saying, "It's not over yet." Gibong asked him why he did not choose to become a monster to have better chances of winning, but he replied that he still had his pride with him. Gibong said that pride would not protect his loved ones. Taram said he doesn't know anything and knocked out Taram with a stomp, saying he knows better than him. The time was 14:10 now. While James and Urim were discussing the noise in the city, Urim expressed annoyance towards Gibong, but James suggested taking a break and said, "As long as the auxiliary mana supplies remain intact, they are safe." However, Urim asked him, "Do you think that she will lose to Gibong?" To which he replied that Gibong is a strong enemy. She was confident and stated that Gibong was not her enemy as she had changed a lot, but James suggested being careful. She replied that it was Gibong who should be careful, not her. Urim took control of the people below with the aim of luring them towards Gibong to test his choice if he would harm innocent civilians. Kang Hwi, Yubin, Yui, and Jui were still fighting with the guild members. Gibong approached the building and noticed the infected people gathered there. Urim saw him and launched an attack towards Gibong, saying it was the last time he hit her. The system warned him that avoiding the attack would result in the civilians being caught in the explosion and recommended intercepting the attack, which Gibong did successfully, nullifying her attack. It angered Urim, and she decided to face him directly and told him that he ran wild while she was away. Gibong stated a request in front of her, which shocked her, but the request was not to surrender in front of him. Urim started to laugh that she had been abroad for a long time, and he dared to say surrender to her. Urim was enraged and stated that facing her is a defeat in itself for Gibong. She commanded all the infected humans to kill Gibong. They moved forward in his direction. Meanwhile, Taryuk was overpowering Kang Hwi, who retaliated with several attacks, but Taryuk was unfazed. Taryuk grabbed Kang and threw him to the ground. The other team members who were already injured were concerned as they watched Kang Hwi struggling in the battle. He continued to attack Kang Hwi, seeing its vice captain, thought that at this rate the Sector 1 mission would be a failure and decided to attack Taryuk, but was thrown by Taryuk. Taryuk decided to kill him but was interrupted by Kang Hwi, who told him to stop. Taryuk asked him to wait for his turn to die. Kang Hwi said that this is why he did not want to go down the mountain, then transformed into a 9-tailed fox, which shocked Taryuk. Kang Hwi expressed a desire to know if Taryuk's liver is as hard as his skin as the infected people charged towards Gibong. He for the first time utilized the Dragon Fear skill, causing them to flee, while Urim also fell to her knees in fear. Gibong reminded her not to surrender. Urim was shocked that she was afraid of a mere human. Before Gibong should attack her, she flew into the air and told him that she would tear his limbs apart and attack him with magic, which he easily blocked. She was irritated after Urim used another spell that was also evaded. Gibong asked if she had any other trick up her sleeves, which enraged her with her skill being mocked. She used the Death Laser skill and shouted for him to die and become ash, but Gibong managed to dodge most of them. However, he eventually got hit by the attack, which pleased Urim, but Gibong emerged unharmed after resisting the abnormal status destruction, and charged towards her immediately. Ji launched multiple attacks at Gibong, but his resistance made him impervious to their attacks, and Urim's arms changed into a monster arm, but it was destroyed by Gibong's attack, causing her to crash to the ground. She could not believe that Gibong was unharmed by her death laser attack. Gibong then approached her, and she sensed that he was looking at her with pity and warned him not to look at her with those eyes. She then responded by attacking him. Kang Hwi inflicted a serious wound on Taryuk's chest, creating a hole and causing him to collapse on his knees. Kang Hwi said that he was no different from a human being and said it was soft like tofu, to which he questioned Kang's identity. He simply responded that an insect does not need to know. Taryuk called him an arrogant beast and said that killing him would not make any difference. Kang replied that Taryuk's comrades were also in the same condition and hit him with the last attack, defeating him. Urim was being overpowered by Gibong and was thrown around until he grabbed her by the neck. He reminded her that she should be responsible for her own action regardless of why she did what she did. Gibong remembered what happened to his mother and the civilians and warned her that he would kill her in the most painful way possible. Urim was being thrown around by Gibong and could not believe that she was being overpowered so easily. She could not accept that. Gibong attacked her, but she managed to escape and headed towards the device, thinking she just needed to absorb that Gibong followed. But it was too late as Urim had already begun absorbing the fire dragon's body and emitting red light to the whole area. Meanwhile, Yubin was engaged in a battle with Minseok, and he was struggling. He knew he did not have much time left. In a risky move, he lowers his guard and provokes Minseok to attack. After receiving the attack, he then retaliates by slicing his throat. Yubin reminded Minseok that when trying to kill someone, fight with your own life on the line. Afterward, Yubin headed toward the device. Urim was fully transformed and expressed her satisfaction with the newly acquired power, expressing gratitude to Gibong and claiming to be even stronger than the fire dragon, and saying she is the apocalypse that will end the world. However, Gibong receives a warning from the system that a draconian has appeared, an unknown monster whose strength could not be measured. Gibong said that she has become a monster and gave up on being a human. Urim prepared a powerful attack and repeated Gibong's words, reminding him not to surrender to her. Gibong found her words amusing, and she saw him laughing and threw multiple spells at him. Kang Hwi, Yi, Yui, and Yun all saw the huge spell in the air. However, he charged forward, activated the first Dragon Slayer skill, and dispelled the attacks, which increased his damage by 50% against dragons and similar monsters. He landed a powerful attack on Urim's arm, causing an explosion that sent her flying through several buildings. He then asked the system to locate his location, but it failed to locate a draconian signal and instead searched for her vitality signals. The system replied that her HP was currently below 1% and displayed her location. Gibong decided to kill her immediately and headed to her location. The system reminded Gibong of the time and recommended that he prioritize destroying the mana suppliers, and Gibong sighed that he had to crush that first. After defeating her opponent, Yui was in a bad state and checked the time. She struggled to stand up and prepared to destroy the device. Meanwhile, Jui was also in bad condition, with several dead and injured animals around her. She apologized to her teammates and promised to remember their sacrifices while standing in front of the device. Gibong asked the system about the others, but the system informed him that they were alive, and it would be difficult to check whether they succeeded or not due to the inhibition recognition magic. Nevertheless, Gibong trusted his comrades and waited for the decided time before destroying the device. At the exact time Gibong destroyed it simultaneously, the others also succeeded in destroying their respective devices. After completing the mission, Kang Hwi reverted to his original appearance and was asked by the vice captain about their mission. He told him that they had accomplished their mission, which relieved the vice captain, who then fainted. At 14:30, Team Kim Gibong managed to destroy the 4 supporting suppliers as well as the main supplier. After successfully completing their mission, the sky color was converted to their normal color. Meanwhile, Urim also transforms back into her human form. James Lee arrives carrying Taram with him. Urim tried to tell him something, but he interrupted her and asked her to take responsibility for the mission's failure. He mentioned that he even brought her younger brother, hoping that she would succeed, but it was all for nothing. Both called each other names, and James added that there was not much time left and suggested saving their reunion for the afterlife. James removed the object from Urim's chest, claiming that it would be put to better use. Taram struggled to get up. He was too weak. Urim questioned James about his true identity. James expressed his disappointment that she has not figured it out, still stating that the hype is greater and runs deeper than what she thinks. Taram was filled with despair as he watched Urim dissolve and die. James pulled out a return stone, but before he could use it, Gibong appeared behind him and questioned him.